All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pigeon Whole Motorcycle Podcast. Today, all the way from peaceful Portland, we have Jen, and the name of her business is Ritualust. Did I say that right?
Yes. Yes, you did.
All right. How are you doing there today?
I am good. Thanks for having me on the show, David. This is awesome, really awesome opportunity. And yeah, it's really good to be here and talk with you.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I don't know how I stumbled across your page, and I was like, who is this girl? And your motorcycle pictures. First of all, if you guys aren't following her page, it's _ ritualust _, correct?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so first of all, who does your photography? It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Actually, it's a couple friends of mine. One is Dion Kraus. She's a wedding photographer in the Portland area. She's amazing. And then Adrian Blair, he is, I think it's Adrian Blair Photo on Instagram.
Cool.
So they both have done a lot of my photos. Also, Women's Moto Exhibit. I think that's maybe where we crossed paths there. Yeah, she's done
Probably.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I worked with her in that. So it was awesome. Good time.
Nice. So
Yeah.
let's go. We're going to talk motorcycles first because I have a ton of other things I want to ask you. But
Cool.
so tell me how you got into motorcycles and what you ride and what your style is there.
Let's see. I started riding in 2010. My first bike was in December of 2010. 2011 883 Sportster was delivered to my house. So it was like brand new.
Wow.
In the black denim paint. It was rad, and it was one of the most exciting times of my life. This was my first bike, and I learned to ride on that, and so really it was like December 2010 is when I started riding that. And so I've always been a fan of Harleys since I can ever remember. I remember cropping pictures of Harleys. Definitely like the Softail heritage has always been like up there for me, and so I've always like cut apart Harley mags and always like wished to do that. And so I finally got into that in 2010, and then now I have a 2006 Street Bob. It's a twin cam 88 engine 06, and so that's been fun. The one before this one was the 96, so an 08 Street Bob had the 96 twin cam. And so this is a little, it's interesting the differences between these last two bikes, but it's like Dyna. I'm not going back after having a Dyna. There's no way. You can't, like, I went from 883 to a 1200 Sportster, riding in SoCal with that, and I was like, it feels like I need to like shift up to a 6th gear, and it just didn't have that for me. So I was like, it's time to move up.
Okay, so when you say from SoCal, are you originally from SoCal or Portland? Where are you from?
I'm from Portland, but
Okay.
a lot of my family is down in Southern California, so Oceanside, San Diego area. And I moved down to San Diego 2014 is when I had my 1200, and I took it down there with me, and I actually had planned to sell it down there anyway. So that's what I ended up doing. But I did ride it around down there, and then came home, and I test rode that 08 Dyna, and I was like, I'm getting this one. So I've lived down there for a little bit. So
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got to spend some time in Portland, and you have a very interesting city.
Thank you.
That's for sure. It's very cool. It's like a whole different world than here, I can tell you that.
Yeah. It's born and raised here. Feels very like just you can be who you are here for sure.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I was going to therapy a lot before I started following your page, and then I started reading your posts, and I feel like I don't need therapy anymore because
yeah, that's awesome. Love
so
that.
so obviously the post and the content that you write under there goes with your business. Would you tell me about your business, please?
Yeah. So Ritualust, it came from so I'm very very in tune with like my ancestral energy. So I'm Italian, and so I've been working a lot with my always felt this my Italian ancestry within me since I was very young. So I got really into, and still am very much practiced in Italian shamanism. And so Ritualust ended up becoming like these practices integrating in my sexuality coaching. So a lot of what I do is create rituals. I can actually just do it on the fly. Something that's like, oh, write a ritual for that, write a ritual for that. So it just flows through me. It's something that, again, like me being in touch with my Italian ancestry is a big piece to this like Italian shamanism. And like actually I have my mentors that I work with, and as they've done practices with me, there are things that I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life before I even like knew of these things before. So it really just felt, I felt very connected to that. And so I'm always, that's where I feel home. So yeah, Ritualust, that's what it became. And so I do have like a membership that I have specifically for women, or persons that identify as women are welcome into that membership that I work with specifically every month. We do like various practices and exercises and stuff. So, and I also do individual coaching for people that want to get more in depth and in touch with their sexuality. And so, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I guess that's the gist of it.
Okay. The whole women thing makes a lot of sense to me because I always feel like a creeper when I'm commenting on one of your photos and I'm like the only man on there. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
wait. Yeah. It just sometimes I'm like, okay, I think she knows. I'm like, because the posts are fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's this writing really comes out like every day. Things sort of flow through me, and it stems from a lot of the rituals that I do and this sexuality coaching. It's very deep. It's deeply embedded in us. So, I mean, everything that we've been taught, this conditioning, whether it's societal or in our families, is very, very deep, and a lot of it can be unconscious. It's beliefs that aren't necessarily aligned with who we are, and that's where we experience a lot of friction throughout our lives, or having issues in relationships, or you can see the issues and different dynamics throughout our life. It's working on that. So sexuality overall it's that, and a lot of people think sexuality is sex specific. It's a lot of what you've been taught, what a loving relationship looks like, and it reflects a lot from what we were taught from our like guardians or any sort of parent figures. So yeah.
Right. That's interesting. So okay, so how do your clients find you?
Actually, I do a lot of my work is from Instagram, and so yeah, people have showed up through when I did the women's moto exhibit. I got a lot of exposure and a lot of women that came to me through that and were, very interested in doing the membership, which was amazing. And really that's that. I do have a website and just like getting my name out there, but I primarily do everything through Instagram. I do have some Facebook, but my following's more on Instagram. Yeah.
It's a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you hook up with the women's moto thing?
Oh, let's see. So my friend Adrian, who I mentioned earlier, Adrian Blair, who's one of the photographers that I work with. When I got my recent bike, we did a photo shoot, and the picture that I used, or that we used to promote this, that he took that photo. And so, yeah, that is really where I think she had seen that. I had been in contact with her, I think years ago, when she maybe had done, I think she was doing a ride, but anyway, it was that. I think it was that photo that I posted, and so she found me through that. And also, she's in the Portland area, so we have, connected in Portland.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how was the experience at the exhibit? Was that a cool thing?
So her company is Women's Moto Exhibit, and so I met with her and did a ride, and she took photos of me as I was riding. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because her name sounds like
I love what she does.
Yeah, No, they've seen some really
Yeah,
cool stuff. You know what I appreciate about your photos, because obviously you're a very attractive woman, and
thank
so
you.
when you see these photos, a lot of times that when you see people are brand ambassadors, or they're just going around, and taking photos, but uh, your content is just like everything that goes together, because you're drawn in by a photo, but then once you start reading, it goes so much further, and I think that's fantastic.
Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely. That's the idea. Absolutely.
Okay, what's the deal with horses? Because I see a lot of horses in your pictures.
Yeah. So I love riding horses. So very, that's on a basic level. But
Right.
what my plan is with Ritualust eventually is to use horses as therapeutic allies. And so I get a lot out of that. There's a lot of horse therapy programs. Actually, there's two in the Portland area. So pretty close in the Portland area, and they use horses for therapeutic purposes for people that have physical disabilities. They're starting to introduce more mental disabilities, and so I do that. I actually volunteer with two barns to work with them for those programs. What I'm doing eventually is going to move on to get my own property, get horses to help as therapeutic allies in this work. So there's a lot of seat work you can do. When I say seat work, is sitting on the horse. It opens up your hips. There's different like postures that you can work on to help build confidence. And my plan eventually is to have a program that works specifically with that, to help people gain confidence in like their bodies. And also work through, a lot of what I do is help people work through trauma. And that is the plan. That's the ultimate goal for me. So when you see the horses, it's not only that I love them very much, they're very spiritual, and they are therapeutic allies. So that's the plan.
Yeah, and it sounds like when you're dealing with people with trauma and things like that, that I'm sure that the confidence is a big healer for things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of times confidence is very, very low when it comes to dealing with trauma. A lot of times people internalize, or that's a big thing in this work, is what people feel about themselves. Are they comfortable in their bodies? Most of the time they're not, or they have a level of comfort. Maybe they want to work towards that. They want to feel stronger, or they want to feel sexier in their bodies. And that is a lot of time the barrier to, for example, there'll be an adult woman who's never orgasmed in her life, or maybe there is an adult male who struggles to keep an erection. A lot of what happens in those cases are how people feel about themselves, about how they feel with their body. And so, especially if they're with another partner, they might feel they feel self-conscious, and that's a huge
Sure.
barrier. Yeah.
Wow, you could deal with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be my counseling session, from a single father of three, two divorces. Like
Yep.
we'll
Welcome
talk
to that club.
offline. You can help me out with my inadequacies and my lack of confidence, and maybe I just need a horse.
I mean, it's about integrating both.
Right. So, okay, so if I'm looking at Jen right now, and obviously if you're not following Jen, which you're going to be after listening to this, um, tell me, because you have a very unique style, from the way you look, the tattoos. Okay, let's go this. How did you get started with your tattoos? Because I know you have a lot of them.
Let's see. I got started with my tattoos. Well, I'll say my first one is Mount Hood. And so Mount Hood in Oregon
Love
is
Mount Hood.
that, right? That is part of my heart is there. I used to live up there. I was very much into the snowboarding scene, and I still love it and everything. But yeah, so that was my first tattoo. And then from that point, it was kind of, okay, I signed up for this shit. And so I'm like, I am a blank canvas. Let's go. And that's what it's been. You know,
Wow.
I know people say, oh, I think you're running out of room. No, I'm not. I still have tons of room to work
That's
with.
right. So
Yeah.
how many separate tattoos do you have now?
You know, I did count, and it's kind of weird. You know, my stomach and chest tattoo is all one big one, and then so I don't know. Maybe I thought there was like 19 or something that over if you want to like chunks.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I think that was what I ended up counting not too long ago.
Nice. I didn't mean to jump into the tattoo. I was just
That's
when I was
great.
looking at your photos, I'm like,
Oh, I
okay,
love it.
just you just have a really good like peaceful vibe about you that's like very I don't know. It's cool. And if anybody looks at your Instagram, they know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
obviously.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you decide with all the stuff like the way the things you were studying and things you were interested in to actually turn that, obviously you're probably self-helping, and then turning that into business to help everybody else. How does that happen?
Yeah, very interesting. So I came from a pretty lengthy, about 7.5 year relationship that was had some quite toxic times for sure. And it really, and I want to say in 2017, early 2017, my partner at the time, he is a pilot. He's a helicopter pilot and was flying overseas, going to work for a year. Gone. Bye. No question. We're not even going to talk about it. See ya.
Wow.
And so I had to be okay with these things. And so I had to make these huge adjustments. And I was just going along with it. And because I felt like I didn't have anything to say, that I just forced myself to like try and adjust to these things. And it was really beginning of 2017 that I had a lot of I had like some serious breakdowns because it felt like I lost my partner. It felt like I was grieving. I couldn't talk to him. He was in the middle of the ocean working somewhere. I don't know when I'll talk to you again. That's how it left. And that threw me over the edge. I was like, okay. I was like even calling a psychiatric line. I was like, I don't know what to do here. I feel like I lost somebody, like a death happened. And
Sure.
it makes sense. It definitely makes sense in this work that I've been doing now. That was the point where it hit a bottom for me. And my sister actually is a self-love coach, and she was getting into that, and she introduced me to a book called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. And that was the first self-help book that I read that I was like, holy fuck, this is good. And I just didn't turn back. I just kept going, like kept getting all the books. And that's when my self-help, self-love journey really began. That's when I was able to start to understand that I had the choice of how I could deal with that situation. So it was up to me, my responsibility to say, like, actually, I don't have to live life this way. I don't have to torture myself or feel like I can be compassionate and grieve, but I don't have to live life like this, like kind of more of a victim place. And so I actually took that and turned it into, this is like actually my self-help journey, like story. This is all part of what I'm doing. And actually, before I started doing all the coaching, I started writing a book. My first coach, it is Shannon Kaiser. She's a Portland author, and she wrote the book Self-Love Experiment. It's awesome, and she's one of the top like self-love, self-help authors out there. And I hired her to be my writing coach, and so I started writing a book, and I got back into this still toxic relationship, and I put the book on hold, but I'm still writing it because the journey it's not done yet. So even though I put it aside and dealt with a lot more shit, it's all part of the story. I knew though, I was like, I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write about this. I'm not done yet. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, finding your first like client to help other people.
Yeah. So this was actually, you mean Shannon, my coach that I?
Or
Very-
yeah, for you getting your first client as a coach for
Oh
others.
yeah, yeah. So that was that felt really good when that
I
happened.
bet.
And it was, and it wasn't just one; it was two at the same time. Very eager to get started, and it was amazing. Like, oh my God, I I do have these things. We can do this. I swear. And so they just had this faith in me, and of course, I pulled it together, and I already had all that within me to work with this stuff. So yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's fun. And you know what? It's fun because you can tell you're extremely passionate about it, and it's fun when you can actually turn that passion into making a living
Yeah.
to whatever you have to do. All right, I have to say, so anybody's listening to this podcast, so we're on a Zoom call right now, and I see into where Jen is sitting right here. So I have two questions about your background right here.
Okay.
So I see a skull of an animal, and I think I
Yeah.
see is it a sickle?
Oh, right there. It's a
Yeah.
scythe.
It's a what?
It's a scythe.
Scythe.
Yeah. It's you see
Yeah.
that pretty commonly in, well, I don't know. I
In
actually
people's homes.
yeah. Well, I like to repurpose things. So
Sure.
see that really commonly with so like a representation of death. So I see that a lot in the metal scene. I see that actually a lot in like the biker scene too. Depending upon the imagery that they're using, whether it's like a skeleton with a scythe, or sometimes people will say like sickle, or
Right.
different things for that. But a lot of what I do in my work is working with shadow. So shadow would be unconscious things that people would consider would be more dark, and so it's going and diving into that. And so I embrace death a lot. There's a lot of a lot of pieces of us die and rebirth, and so I do a lot of work with that. So a lot of you'll see the music I listen to, the patches, everything that you see around is sort of death related.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that. There's these dark pieces in me that I feel like I can embrace and love, and that's what that's about. So,
Right. Seems like embracing that part can help you live.
exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people don't see that. And so that's part of what actually Ritualust does, is a lot of shadow work and bringing that to consciousness and loving it. Yeah.
Nice. So how with your motorcycle, your love for motorcycles, and from
Mhm.
what you do for a living, those probably fit together pretty well. You probably get to meet some really interesting people in the circles you hang.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And more, I'm connecting more and more with people that uh, either they have bikes, or they do want bikes, or they listen to the same music. And it's the type of music that I'm into
Yeah.
mostly that is very particular. And so it's not that common to come up to people that are into black metal, death metal, like motorcycles that look like death, that are like, they're into dark shit, I guess.
Right.
It's interesting when I do meet people or come across people. That's very rare. So it's like, oh, hang on, like, oh, I'm attracted to that person, or like, yeah, these are my people. And so it feels good when that happens. And so
Right. Well,
yeah.
let's talk music then. I'm very interested to see what are you into?
Okay. I have a very vast interest in music. I'm very much in love with black metal, and that's a general, there's in particular, like, different countries have, you can hear the sound from these places. So like black metal, there's Norwegian black metal, there's French black metal, there's US black metal. And so everywhere it comes from, even like within the US, black metal in Florida sounds different from black metal in the Pacific Northwest. So there's a particular sound that you can tell when they're from a certain region, or which is really cool. That's awesome. And so, yeah, I'm very much into black metal and death metal, like Swedish death metal, old school Swedish death metal. What else?
I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says that. By the way,
What?
I'm into old school Swedish death metal.
Please do
Yes,
that.
I
Yeah, I
will.
love
I'll
that.
just and I'll see how many people actually know what I'm talking about.
Hell yeah, I'll definitely. I'll be the first one to say,
Okay.
hey, fucking rad. And I'm also very interested in. I love country. I also love. I'm very into hip hop. So like Bay Area hip hop. I'm into the New York hip hop scene. I love Wu-Tang. What else? I can keep going on. I know probably about as much about hip hop as I do in the metal. And I love classical music because I was chorally trained when I was younger, so I was in choirs and I loved that. That's a piece of me it'll always burn within me. But it's not that easy to find a choir that wants to sing like what you want to sing. So
like Swedish death metal choir music.
yeah, if it could be dark, I found one, but they canceled. Fine. So, it'll just somehow I'll find it.
Right. So, okay, when you're talking about all this music from different countries, is it because you've traveled there? Have you done some traveling?
I have done some traveling. It's not necessarily that introduced me to it. It's actually, I guess, it's kind of like when you find a particular band and you start going down a rabbit hole, you start going down the abyss and you're like, oh, there's that band. And wait, after you listen to them for so long, you can hear the differences between them. So you can hear a distinction between a Norwegian black metal and between like a French black metal scene. You can hear the tones are different, the style is different. And so it's really cool, very unique. It's a small, it's like a very small like subgenre.
Sure.
And yeah, it's really cool. And so it sort of feels like when you're listening to it, it feels like you're traveling these places.
I'm sure.
I would say, yeah, it works in that way where you're listening to these different bands and also like per album that they put out, there's, various changes and things like that. So it's cool to see like how a band will progress over time or if they do. And yeah.
Right. Okay. So with your motorcycle stuff, have you taken any big rides? Have you gone any long distances, or you just pretty much stay local?
I have not gone on any long rides, and that's something I do plan on doing. I went to Bend for my birthday recently, which is only, I don't know, I'm just guessing 150 miles. But really, I've just kept it in Oregon. I've gone into Washington a bit, but yeah, so to answer that, it's been pretty much local. And when I lived in California, I was pretty much local down there too, but I didn't ride down there. I was when I moved, I basically trailered everything down there. So
right. Well, you have some beautiful places to ride near you.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very easy just to, go out for even a couple hours, hit farmland. It's, maybe an hour and a half so it is an hour and a half to the coast, or it's an hour and a half to Mount Hood. So just like take your pick. Or Bend, which is, it doesn't take very long to get to Central Oregon, but it's high desert out there. Heading out to like Pendleton is desert out that way. So we really have everything.
Interesting. Yeah, because you guys have mountains. Do you have the coast? Do you have desert? Like, you have everything right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize you guys were that close to the coast. I guess I should have known that. We were at the One Show in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
So I have my drone with me. I do tons of drone photography everywhere that I go. So I see Hood, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, in this rental car, I'm like, I just start driving towards Mount Hood.
Yeah.
How far could it be? And seriously, I drove for like an hour and 15 minutes, end up on these little winding roads, with no guardrails, looking straight down. Some great photographs, but it's just unbelievable out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we have volcanoes. No hills. They're mountains, definitely.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Cascades or something else. And then when you go to the coast, there's a coastal range that's pretty epic too. I mean, it's not like Mount Hood, but there are, yeah, they're definitely mountains.
Wow.
It's very cliff-like over there.
Yeah, I have to do that. I have to spend more time.
Yeah.
Just the Pacific Northwest is just gorgeous and a totally different way of life, and that's what I like. So it seems like the business that you're in and your way of thinking and everything fits perfectly for the for the region that you're in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very, like I said, it feels like, and I grew up here, it always felt like, and maybe part of this is I've always been a little rebellious bitch, but I always,
I don't get that from you at all, really.
no, yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't like when people told me not to do stuff. I'm like, whatever, cool, I'm gonna do that. I'll find out for myself.
Twice.
Yeah. So I've always been able to go wherever here. It feels like you can be who you are here. You can, again, hit the mountains, hit the coast, go wherever. And I've always had the privilege or freedom to do that, which has been pretty epic. And I grew up with that. So.
Right. So what's your most rewarding part of your job?
Most rewarding part of my job is, this is really cool because I just worked with one of my colleagues actually earlier in my program, and we talked about these things, why we do what we do.
Sure. And
the stories that we hear from clients. So whether that's, we'll work on something specific in a session, what do they desire to, maybe it's a specific desire that they're wanting to work towards. So we'll work towards that. But a lot of material comes from that and the questioning, these open questions that we're asking, sometimes very direct questions we're asking, depends on what's going on, but it's seeing the radiance in people's faces. And just like, even when they have their eyes closed and they're breathing into a piece of their part of their body that they're struggling with, any sort of barriers, or when they're really, something sinks in for them that, oh shit, that is something I didn't realize. To see like the epiphany in the face, to like hear the stories and the background behind like why they feel the way they do or why these barriers even exist, which is helping them discover those. It's those stories that that make it.
Sure.
So yeah, the stories, the way you see people glow when they are working through this shit, like, oh yeah, that is. And after closing a session, it feels like, God, it feels so good. It feels so good. It's really rewarding, and like everyone leaves in such a good space. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, and especially the stuff you're working on with people, it sounds like even from, it may be a little more touchy to have people open up about things they're not used to talking about, like sexuality and things like that. I'm sure it's a little harder for, well, I don't know if it's harder for women to open up about it, but that must be a interesting way to go about things.
Yeah, it is. It depends on, the person's upbringing, or even a really big thing is in society, in working with women. Women have not been safe for many, many years, like thousands of years actually. And so there's still this embedded feeling like women can't, and women experience this, that they feel like they can't put too much of themselves out there for fear that they're going to be shut down, or and this it goes with men too, but for women historically have lost their lives for being too much, right? Or being like, for example, like the witch hunts and things like that. I had to, and even in Italian rural shamanism, that's a big thing. Like the Inquisition. So there's an Italian Inquisition who went around like, okay, these people, any pagan practices, these people were risking their lives to do these medicinal practices that were kept within the family, so they'd hide all these things. So what I'm getting at is women have notoriously for many years hid themselves, very much do that today. And so part of my message, as you see, I am not hiding shit. I have my own stuff that I work through for sure, but part of what I do is working through that. I put myself out there even when I do have those fears, and know that it's safe to do that. And so that's what I've been teaching. Yeah.
That's true. And it's funny that you say the word witchy, because some of the times I look at your stuff over here and I'm like, you have, and I hope it's not offensive at all, but you have a kind of a witchy kind of, aura about you, I guess.
I'm glad that you feel that, because it's true.
Okay. So I didn't insult you with that.
No, not at all. No.
So as long as I'm a good boy today, you won't cast any spells on me or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not about hexing really all the time. It's just, there's a lot of, you can use your magic in ways to exactly doing the work that I do and
Sure.
help people. That's exactly what, and when I say Italian shamanism comes from my family history, it was all geared to help people. Like, people went to these Italian shamans, mostly women who were respected, went to them for help for ailment. And so that's a lot of what I do, actually. So that's all part of.
Wow. And why I really enjoy speaking with you, because it's the thing about meeting different humans is to find what fires people up and what they're interested in. And I've honestly never met anybody that has the same passion as you do. So it's very cool. It's very unique, and that you're helping with people with that is even cooler.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it feels good to, I know I just did a post on Instagram about how to never compartmentalize yourself. There's all these subgenres around that it's kind of portray, or society has taught us to be one thing and one thing only. Like, you're a doctor, or you are into this particular music. You can't like this and like that at the same time. This work is all about integrating all of these pieces, encompassing all of you. And so I'm all about okay, we're putting this all together because all of this makes who you are, and not leaving anything behind. And so that has been a big thing. And it feels good to finally be able to embrace these things. I have worked in many places, including the court system, which I have a successful career within the court system, and I've been highly valued there, but I've also had to check part of me at the door before I go in, even, so I have judges support me, and DA's office, I have really good standing with them, but I'm sick of checking myself at the door before I go to work, so it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel aligned with me. And I'm moving away from that, and that's exactly everything that I'm doing here is what I'm moving towards. So
that's good for you.
Thank you.
That's fantastic, because it's hard, especially because it sounds like you're very talented and very good at that. So it's hard to walk away. But if you're good at it,
yeah,
but you don't believe in it 100%.
Exactly.
Doesn't make your very rewarding job.
Yeah.
That's
all about
sure.
living an inspired life.
That's right. You have to do it both ways.
Yes.
It's funny about how you were talking about different, what people are taught, because I have a 3.5-year-old, and it's so funny because I even catch myself after doing a lot of reading of self-help books and the things you're speaking of, what you tell your child they're not supposed to do, or whatever, or his mother telling him what they're not supposed to do, because that's not what little boys do. And I'm like, but everybody's formed that way, and it depends if you have good parents or not either that are leading you in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really interesting to not figure it out, but I'm in a coaching certification program that I have been going through my own personal journey with, and so a lot of the content that I write is from my own discovery of things, from my own a lot of what's involved in this is self-pleasure practices. And going through this unconscious material and going through these things, my own trauma and things that I grew up with, things that I learned from my parents. And a lot of what it's very common to see a parent, either they're way too intrusive, or they're not present, or they're partially present, which has been my combination. That's actually very, very common for people to have both of those, if they have both parents, to have those two dynamics. So growing up, people get mixed messages. And so
Sure.
as people are going through it, that's what they're learning, what love is. So that's their first picture of, oh, this is what a loving relationship is, whatever that looks like. And we're taking that and repeating that, the cycles throughout our lives, through our relationships, and repeating that same thing, because our trauma wants to be healed. And so we keep trying to go after this one thing. This is what we know. This is what we know. It's not working out because you're trying to complete this trauma. You're still repeating the same cycle. You have to break that cycle to do something different. And I know I'm doing this. I'm doing it. I'm like living by example. It's not easy, but you can absolutely do it. It's
Right.
testing absolutely everything. Yeah.
I thought you were explaining me there, repeating the same cycle of relationships and failing and failing.
I think I'm
failing.
talking about maybe most people.
Right.
Talking about me, talking about, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. And, and I guess with coaching people with that, if so many people have the same problem, if we can, have a good way to, because I'm sure not everybody identifies with one way of breaking a cycle, or, everybody has their different buttons
Absolutely.
to push to get them to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It definitely takes a lot of different angles to do that.
That's cool. You know what? I love that you enjoy your job. So how long is it going to take you to not have to work at your other job?
Well, I'm looking for that to expire. My certification, I have to be certified through the state to do what I do, and I'm designated by the courts to do what I do. So it's like they're sort of a team that don't work together. But I say, guys, I have to be certified. Please give me these letters. Please give me these letters. And then there I am, birth as I basically, what I do is I assess people for treatment programs. So when I work with DUIs, people that drive under the influence. They have to come see me, and then I assess them, tell them what they have to do, and I send them to treatment. I monitor their cases. And I see a lot of these like different trauma responses and things, right? I'm seeing a very, very huge population come through there with all these different traumas. And believe me, I'm like, oh man, I know what's going on, right? But these people are so not ready, right? Some very, very few. But anyway,
Right.
I don't mix these things whatsoever. But long story short, my certification's up by the end of this year, and I'm trying to move on from that point. So, and be full into Ritualust, be done with the court.
Great. So when you share this, so anybody listening, Jen's for hire. She's ready. She's ready to go, and as soon as she possibly can, let's do it. Let's get.
I am, yeah. The more I get out there, the more I grow, I can leave what I'm doing. So, and it's been an excellent experience. I've been counseling, a combination of counseling and doing, I've worked in homeless services. So I've worked with a lot of mental health. I have done counseling and substance abuse, and working within the court system and guiding people through that process. So a combination of all that, 15 years. And
Wow.
So I have very, very grateful for that experience, because I know I've been listening to people for all these years and hearing these stories. And I do love working with people, and I'm shifting into more like something that's more aligned with what I need personally. And
Sure.
working with people that want this help, want this work. And so it feels good to do that. And so I'm grateful for my successful career with the court, and I'm ready to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'd be nice. It sounds like being at court was just hearing all these people's problems forever, just push you to make you want to help other people in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the systems that are in place are really set to, and within the court system and where I work in probation and stuff too. They are structured to be sort of rehabilitation, but it isn't really that what it's doing is treating a symptom and not treating the problem, really is what it's doing. And there's so much deeper stuff, like what I'm doing with Ritualust, all this very, very deep stuff that is, you wouldn't even scratch that.
Right.
So with the, even in substance abuse counseling and things like that, it depends on how in-depth people get, but really not even. Yeah.
And they're not there on their own. They have to be there. So
yeah, they have to be there through the court stuff. And even people that came to me and just they were like self-referred is what we say, would never even, a lot of times most people think that the issue is outside of themselves. And so that system is treating or saying, you can't drink, you can't do this. Well, people drink and do these things because they have very deep underlying issues that's where the treatment is at. That's where it's needed. And that's not the place for the kind of work that I would do in this deep level. I mean, you can get really into some stuff with some therapy, I think, but of course, you definitely can, but not really seeing a lot of actually sexuality work is pretty new. I
haven't heard anybody say that except for you.
Yeah, it's fairly new. I would say that. Actually, the program that I'm in for my certification is ran by Layla Martin, who is one of the forefront people in the forefront when it comes to this work. She's done a ton of work, and so she has done a lot of tantra, different. I don't know. She's done so much. We'll just say that she has a very broad range of experience that she has brought together and created this program that I'm in, and they do such a beautiful job in guiding us through our own journey, practices to safely coach people. It's really, really beautiful, and it's really a way of life for me. It's changed everything in a sense that it's really opened up everything. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like she's been a real inspiration for you too. It's nice to see people doing awesome things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really glad that I came across her program, and then all the women that I've been working with in that program have just seeing everybody blossom. And every week I meet with a group of gals who we just connect with each other every Monday on what we're doing, in our personal lives, how the program's going for us, and just following up with each other. And there's this sisterhood you can't break that. It is amazing. It's changed my life for sure, for the better. And it's given me so much more confidence, and it helps me that every day, all the practices that I've learned and things to embody, remember that, to just be me. And it's been amazing. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So you're building some strong women over there too. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. There's always things to work on, of course, but it's, having the tools to do it.
Sure.
It's been everything. Yeah.
And using them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because I know nothing about tools or how to use them.
I'm here, so I teach the tools. That's part of what I do.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk offline. I'll throw you a couple of things. You're gonna be like, you need to see somebody, Dave. You need to see somebody really bad.
Okay.
So what is your I have to go back. We're gonna end up here in a second, but as far as motorcycles go, because I've had fun because we've only talked about motorcycles for 10 minutes, which is great.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So do you have and if you don't, but do you have a dream place that you would love to ride, to go hang, or a show you want to go to, or something you want to be involved in motorcycle wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely want to ride Southern Italy. And so we'll just say I do want to ride in that region. And I'm talking with somebody about doing that. So that may be something that's a trip next summer that we just kind of talked out like a little bit, not even outlined, but that's keeping that goal in mind. So that's really cool. And as far as shows, I'm trying to think of some. I really am wanting to just want to hit the road. I just want to get out there, and part of that is, I just talked about transitioning out of my job, right? And so going, all like full time into Ritualust will give me that freedom to do that. And I am fucking craving that shit. I cannot wait till when that happens, that freedom and flexibility it's going to have, because I can work anywhere at that point. And that's the goal. That's my plan. And really I'm very interested in riding Europe in general. It feels like, in Germany has been like always felt like a second home to me. I spent a lot of time there. Yeah. So, I'd like to go international. We'll say shows in particular. I don't know. I mean, if I feel called to go to one, then I might. But yeah, on the top of my head, I can't think of any.
I'll call you.
Yeah, let me know.
I'm at the One Show in Portland. Let's go.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll go to the One Show. I've been to the One Show. And mad respect to them.
Great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, okay, so let's end with this. You're if I call you in, let's just say a year, as your job changes, what is your not where do you see yourself, where do you see yourself, but what is your ultimate just baddest ass like goal for your job that you have?
In a year.
Obviously, you'll be done at the courthouse way before then.
Yeah, I'll be out of that shit.
That's right.
Yeah. Bye. That is a great question. I am very much interested in, I really like how my work is getting more into the motorcycle community. I do feel very passionate about that. I also saw myself I will be doing retreats in places like Italy.
Awesome.
Duh.
Right.
Yeah. So I will be doing retreats, and my dream is to pursue my PhD in human sexualities. And so I do plan to, speak at conferences and actually maybe host them and teach people what is sexuality, what does that mean, and how many people actually don't know their own parts, their physical parts. I mean, there's women out there that don't even know like what their reproductive system, any of those, like cervix and the like between what is a vulva and what is the vagina, those are different, even just knowing that. And so my passion is to teach that and change the narrative about sexuality, be one of those people out there, and like what sort of like fighting against society what they taught sexuality. But also at the same time, this world is I know a lot of people might not feel like this, but the world is waking up to these things. So all this unconscious material is spilling out. People are like, what the fuck? This is uncomfortable. I don't get it. And so
whether we like it or not, it's right. it
yeah.
is.
Now's the time to go teach people about their sexual parts. So I'm going to do that at some point. So anyway,
being locked up with COVID, I think everybody should definitely explore as much as they can.
Exactly. There's
what a good time to learn.
So much wisdom in the body, just right there. So personally and in a partnership, there's infinite wisdom in that connection. Partnership.
Well, I like your style.
Thank you.
Very, very cool.
Awesome.
And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time with me tonight too, because and hopefully everybody listening is going to go, that was different, which is great, which is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's why we call it the Pigeon Whole.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, I like
so
that.
we don't have to stay one place. And if anybody doesn't like it, I make the fucking rules, so skip. Whatever you'd like to do.
Is if you had a good time and I had a good time, and that's it, And I hope that, like, as a byproduct, everyone loves that this happened too.
Right. And then the one guy's going to be like, hey, honey, so there's this girl in Portland, and here's her Instagram. Maybe you need to go talk to her.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Well,
yep.
Yeah. And anybody that's not following, once again, it's _ Ritualust. Ritualust. Do I say that right? I feel like I'm...
Ritualust. Mm-hmm.
Ritualust. Okay. Yes. So give her a follow. Then I could feel really good that I know you listen to it. And Jen's going to say, cool, I picked up some... And you could be a man and follow her too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
for everyone. Mm-hmm.
That's right. It makes the world go round. So, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, hon.
Thank you, David.
All right. We'll be seeing each other soon. All right. Take care, hon. Good luck.